Have you ever looked at the job titles in the data world and just felt confused? Data analyst, data scientist, AI engineer, it feels like a mess of buzzwords. Well, today we're going to cut right through that noise. We're going to break down the real evolution of these roles and see exactly how we got here. And you've got to wonder, right? Is this all just marketing? I mean, statisticians and PhDs have been analyzing data and finding patterns for decades. So are data scientist and AI engineer just fancy new labels for the same old job? The short answer is a definite no. This isn't just about rebranding or slapping a new coat of paint on an old role. It's a genuine evolution, a response to some massive fundamental shifts in both technology and business. So let's break down exactly why. To really understand where we are now, we have to start at the very beginning. We need to look at the foundational role that pretty much everyone is familiar with, the data analyst. Okay, so think of the analyst as the company's historian. Their entire job is to look at the data we already have and answer two really critical business questions. First, what happened? That's your descriptive analysis. And second, why did it happen? And that's the diagnostic part. They're all about explaining business performance. And to do that, their toolkit is pretty specific. They're masters of SQL for pulling data. They use stats to find the meaning behind the numbers, and they're pros at creating really clear reports and dashboards to tell the story. You can think of them as the experts at looking in the company's rearview mirror to help guide the decisions we're making today.
But here's the thing, just looking in that rearview mirror wasn't going to cut it anymore. The business world was totally transformed by a perfect storm of new forces, and suddenly, that traditional analyst role just couldn't keep up.
And it really all came down to these three massive shifts. First, big data. We're talking a literal tsunami of information, coming in every shape and size imaginable. Second, you have the rise of powerful, accessible machine learning. And third, a brand new demand from businesses. We don't just want reports anymore. We need to embed this intelligence directly into our products. This new reality? Well, it demanded a completely new kind of expert. Someone who could not only make sense of the past, but could actually predict the future. And that's when the data scientist stepped onto the scene. See, the data scientist flips the script and starts looking forward. They ask predictive questions, like what will happen, and even prescriptive ones, like what should we do about it? And that, for a business, is a huge leap. It's the difference between just reacting to what the market does and actually getting ahead of it to shape your own strategy. This table breaks down the difference so clearly. Just look at the deliverables. An analyst gives you a report. A scientist builds you a predictive model, or the data scope. An analyst usually works with clean, structured data. A scientist? They're wrestling with massive, messy, big data, both structured and unstructured. And of course, the skills have to follow. An analyst needs SQL, but a scientist needs to be a master of machine learning and programming in languages like Python or R. So if you're gonna remember one thing, let it be this. An analyst explains the past with a report, but a scientist builds an algorithm to predict the future. It's a fundamental change from just interpreting data to actually creating something new with it. And just when we thought we had it all figured out, bam, the whole world of generative AI explodes. And this created the need for yet another specialization, the next step in the evolution, the AI engineer. So what's the big difference here? Well, a data scientist, they'll typically build a very specific, narrow model from scratch using your company's own data, to predict customer churn or something like that. An AI engineer, on the other hand, takes one of these huge pre-trained models, think of the engine behind ChatGPT, and figures out how to integrate it into the business to build entirely new systems. And as you'd expect, their toolkit is a whole different beast. They're focused on system architecture, prompt engineering, and these really advanced techniques like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. That's just a fancy way of saying they let the model pull in live, up-to-the-minute information. So their job isn't so much about training a new model, it's about wiring up a massive existing one to solve problems that were basically science fiction a few years ago, like building a true digital advisor or an automated coding assistant. So when you put it all together, you can see this clear evolutionary path emerging. It's not a random collection of job titles, it's a single cohesive framework. And this quote right here just nails it. These aren't just new buzzwords for old jobs. They are distinct, necessary specializations, each one born out of the need to manage the ever-increasing scale and complexity of data and AI. So here's a really simple way to think about the entire journey. The analyst is looking in the car's rearview mirror, telling you what's happened on the road behind you. The scientist is building a sophisticated GPS to forecast the road ahead. And the AI engineer, they're integrating a powerful new engine directly into the car itself, giving you totally new capabilities for the journey. Which brings us to the final, big question for you. When you look at your own organization, can you see these different roles in action? Because understanding this evolution isn't just an academic exercise. It's about knowing who you need to navigate the road ahead. So, who's looking back, who's forecasting the path, and who is building the engine that's going to get you there?